Hello again and welcome to Ballin with Roy and Edwyn. I am Roy S. Johnson. This is my son, Edwyn Lawrence Johnson. And once again, we are going to discuss the issues and trends and ideas happening in sports now, today, this week, with a little bit of an intergenerational twist. How you doing today, Edwyn?
I'm good, Daddy. How are you?
I'm great. Man, lots on our list today since our last episode. Let's just start by saluting Romeo Crennel, a longtime NFL coach who announced his retirement. One of the quiet leaders, seemingly has been around forever, almost twice as long as you've been alive. Edwin, what do you know about Romeo Crennel, and where does he fit in terms of just successful NFL coaches?
Well, I know he's coached for over 50 years. I know he's coached 39 years in the NFL. He has the most Super Bowl wins by an assistant coach, 3 with New England, two with the Giants. I know that. I know his record overall was 32 and 63 record, which isn't a bad record. J.J. Watt tweeted something about him, which was said he was an absolute legend of the game and an even better man. So that clearly says a lot from his former star player. I've seen him on the sideline many times calling plays. And, when there's been so few black head coaches in the NFL, which is going to change soon, but just to see that is always something that I definitely noticed, that definitely caught my eye, especially at me as a younger age, to appreciate that too, as you've stated many times, whether it's been in the NFL or NBA, to have coaches of color. That's very important. It was very important to me. I've always appreciated that. So especially him being older too, because he's 74 years old also. So that
watch it when you throw that word old around. I'll be up there pretty soon.
That's true.
But when I hear you, you're right, because when I think about Romeo Crennel, I think about how many young men whose lives he has shaped. He's like a father figure, right? He literally is 74, 75 years old. You just think of, in that role, how many young men's lives he has touched and shaped with his class, with his understatedness, his work ethic. This man has earned retirement, and I'm sure, that just anonymously, he has had more of an impact on young men, perhaps, at least as much as any coach ever. So good luck to you, Romeo. You earned your time and your rest. And I'm sure, you'll still be watching, but we just wanted to salute you and say thanks for shaping lives. All right, other news this week, the Denver Broncos finally were sold for over $4 billion, that's with a B, the largest sale price in the history of the NFL. And we just wanted to congratulate someone that I know and have known for a long time, Melody Hobson, who is the CEO of Ariel Capital. She's also the chairman of the board of Starbucks, and she is on the board of JP Morgan Chase. And this is one bad sister. And the fact that she is now part owner of the Denver Broncos makes me proud.
It makes me proud too. Again, this has been a fight for such a long time, and a big topic of minority, people of color ownership. And now this is the first step towards that. It is a part ownership. That's a step. Of course, we can't wait for full ownership. But this is a great start. And again, she is a powerful woman, very powerful woman. Part of it is being married to George Lucas. We all know who he is.
Being in the Star Wars family, we get a piece of Star Wars, that can't hurt. Yeah, this sister, though, she's earned her own rock. She's been working and made a lot of people rich, including herself, for a long time. So she definitely got a seat at the table, earned a seat at the table. And I look forward to her, being a visible part of that franchise's future. So now let's go onto the field a little bit. Just an interesting comment by Derek Carr, the quarterback for the Los Angeles Raiders. As we know, Colin Kaepernick had a tryout there a few days ago, and Carr came out publicly and said he thought Cap would be a good fit with the team. However, the Raiders haven't signed Cap yet, and we really haven't heard much about how that workout went. What do you think of Carr's comments, and do you think it's eventually going to lead to Cap signing with the Raiders?
It's not a guarantee to sign, but it definitely helps when you have your franchise quarterback to back you up and to support you and to say that he likes you too, you would be a good fit, and the other guys too in the locker room would like you, that's always going to help him. That's okay. It's still not a guarantee. The organization has to make that decision themselves, but to consider that and really have that as a factor is a big thing. Derek Carr's familiar for him pretty much from playing each other through college and from Fresno State, and also Cap went to Utah. So they're familiar with each other's game and they've known each other for a while. Derek Carr's brother also too. They've met him. They like just him as a person, but also as a football player too. So I think it's respect for him as a person with everything that he did before then, and just, again, nailing everything he stood for, but also I think it's respect as an athlete too as well. So if he's going to say that, that means a lot. I think they all need to consider that and believe that, because Derek Carr, although he is a young franchise quarterback, he is good. I will admit that there's some things that are lacking in his career, and you never know what can happen. I think Cap would be the perfect replacement for him if he were to go down, or even possibly if Derek Carr's not playing up to par and you do need to make a change. I think that would be great, and we still need to see him in training camp with pads on, throwing under coverage and coverage, under pressure, being rushed. But I think, yeah, if they go with him, if they sign him, that would be a great fit. They just have to, they already have 4 quarterbacks though on the roster, so you're going to have to cut 2.
And if the Raiders are going to do this, they need to go ahead and do it. I mean, they've got these workouts going on now. These are not mandatory workouts, but sooner or later, and sooner in my book, Raiders going to have to, fish or cut bait, sign Cap or not, and get him on the field so they can begin to see what they have. But you're right. Getting a positive word from Derek Carr certainly seems like it's a move in that direction. Oh, so the next thing, we all know that the first time that we are going out to dinner with Aaron Donald, who's paying, right? Homeboy just got a huge new deal coming off a Super Bowl win, to new deal, 3 years, $95 million, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. No question that he deserves it. No question that he has been not just a star on the field, but just a bright light and a great face for the NFL at this time or any time. But what did you think when you saw him sign that contract?
He deserved it. He deserved it for the years of being one of the best defensive players in the game and history, with Reggie White, with Lawrence Taylor. His impact is amazing. I will not deny that. So does he deserve it? Yes. However, what he has stated is he is okay with one Super Bowl. He's satisfied with his career. That is the only issue that I have. He is not hungry anymore. And it's not to say that he cannot change his mentality from now through training camp, preseason, up until the season starts. But you have to keep in mind, now he is satisfied. He is no longer chasing more championships. He's just satisfied with the one. And I've always heard a term from one of my high school coaches: would you rather be in a cage with a lion that has already eaten, or a lion that is full? He is clearly full. First of all, I'm not gonna say he's a lion. I would say he's an elephant or something like a lion. Well, anyway,
like a buffalo. Like a buffalo.
Yeah, but he is satisfied though with one. I prefer, we all like those who want to chase 1, 2, 3, 4 championships. He is satisfied with the one, the 3 to 4 defensive player of the years, and the 8, I think the 8 Pro Bowls. He is satisfied with his career. So that's why he debated, was he going to retire? Was he not going to retire? I think he is 31, 32 years old. So in his early 30s, but he clearly has a lot left, is in great shape. But if he does not change that mindset, though, which is what he needs to do, that is what's going to debate them trying to get back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting perspective. What I would say is I wonder how much of that was 2 things. One, getting to the top of the mountain is so hard. Yeah. And when you get there for the first time, you just want to enjoy the moment. You don't want to think about the future. You certainly don't want to think about climbing the mountain again. I've seen it in not just the NFL, for the NBA for years. That's why it was so hard to get repeat champions for decades. You didn't have back-to-back championships because it was so hard to get to the top of the mountain. In Major League Baseball, it's hard to get to the top of the mountain, and so it in the NFL. So when you get that first one, you're just so happy to say thank you. You don't want to think about training camp. You don't want to think about going through another season to try to get to the top of the mountain. So I wonder if some of that was just the fact that he had reached the top of the mountain and was just satisfied and so grateful for that, and how much of it was negotiating. I mean, he talked about
that was a
potentially.
big part of it. A big part of it is everything he had to go through to climb to the top. You're right. However, the great players, they don't want to come down from the top. Now, you may have to restart every year the season's over, because what you did last year, it has nothing to do with the previous season. That is correct. But Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, not to say that every athlete is done, they stayed at the top. They got to the top. Michael Jordan cried when he won his first championship. They get up to the top. You're addicted. You don't want to go down. And that's what great players do. You want to stay at the top. So you're going to have to continue to put in more work the next year and start from scratch, though. But you are still at the top. You are still the contender. So everybody is coming for your head after you won the championship. And it is your job to want to defend that title as a great player, as a great athlete.
So there's no question that Aaron Donald is a great player, but we're going to find out in the next year or so whether it's great with a capital G or just great, whether it's NFL Hall of Fame great or just a great player, a one-hit wonder, as they call it in the music business. All right.
Oh, he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's going to the Hall of Fame, though.
Right, absolutely. Okay, all right. So let's go to college football. We know this is one of your favorite spots. Somebody put out a graphic this week that said 10 games that will shape the college football playoff. Now check out this chart. Evan, what did you think when you saw these 10 games? Now for me, I think maybe 7 of them will shape the playoffs. I don't know if I give too much credit to North Carolina State and Clemson. I don't know if that's going to shape the playoffs that much, or Oklahoma State and Baylor. Really? I don't know. And
I'm going to tell
Cincinnati.
You
Well, let me say one more. Cincinnati, Arkansas. I mean, I know Arkansas is improving, but I don't know if they're going to shape the NBA playoffs. So anyway, go ahead, take your shot.
Well, that one in particular, the last one, Cincinnati, Arkansas, you're talking about the SEC versus the Cincinnati Bearcats, made the playoffs for the first time, had a great season last year. In that regard, it would affect them, because even if Arkansas does not make the playoffs, but they're still somewhat good, getting better. The fact of the matter is Cincinnati was top 4 last year, so that's for one. Can you bring it back up though?
Okay.
The Oklahoma State Baylor, because not the Pac-12, the Big 12.
The Big 12,
it always has an impact. There's going to be at least one team to come out of there. Baylor usually is top 10, even in the country. Oklahoma State, they damn near made the playoffs last year. So Oklahoma's out of the equation, I think, personally. So I would say that one too. Texas A&M is going to beat Miami.
You're hurting me. You taking my Sooners out of the equation? Come on now. I saw one ranking.
Riley
Talk about a ranking last week. They were in the top 5. Come on now.
And you have a new quarterback on top of that. So Texas A&M is going to get that win easy from Miami. So that will not have an effect. If Dabo Swinney can get back to being the Clemson that beat Alabama, that won those national championships the last few years, North Carolina State is up and down. The ACC is weak. The ACC doesn't really have that much of an effect anymore. But I would just say, just watch that. The Notre Dame-Ohio State game, Brian Kelly is no longer there, but they do have a black coach now. They have a new coach. So we do have to watch Notre Dame. So there's
no question. All those other games circle them on your calendar. Get the grill out, keep the beer cold, get in front of your couch and watch it. Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, and especially
that's going to be a really good one. That's going to be a really good Oregon, Georgia one. I love those beginning of the year out of conference matchups. I always love those. Those do have an impact, just to go up against different competition, just to see the athletes that Oregon has. And that does affect the Pac-12, especially the USC-Utah game with Oregon, Georgia. That does affect your conference also. And I don't think Stanford's going to be anywhere near the equation.
Oh, you had to bring up the Cardinals.
Yeah,
you're right. We will leave them alone right now.
We know what the big game is on this one though. A&M, Texas A&M, Alabama. That is the number one out of this one. We cannot wait The fire is set, the fuel is there. We can't
Mm-hmm.
wait. You know who won the matchup last year, and now leading on to this. Oh, it's gonna be great. Get your popcorn ready for that game. We all wait for that.
There's another one on here that even if you're not a Big Ten fan, you should watch, and that's that Michigan State Michigan game. Michigan State had a great season last year. Mel Tucker, their new head coach, got a new contract. I think that could be a key game, even as much of a key game for Michigan as Ohio State, if not more so. So, they're Michigan State's one of my sleeper teams this year. We'll talk about them more as we get closer to college football, but I'm glad that game was up there because Michigan State is going to get a little bit of light this year as Mel Tucker is trying to take them to the next level. All right, on to your favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers. Darvin Ham, the new coach, was introduced this week to the team and seemed to really have a positive impact on folks. I mean, talked about how he grew up, some of the things that he went through and that he's fearless. He says that, he doesn't feel any pressure because it's just basketball. He seemed to come in with the right attitude. In that press conference, Russell Westbrook was there. He attended. And afterwards, Russell expressed some enthusiasm about Darvin. He said they're getting to know each other as men. And Ham said he's gonna, he wanted Westbrook to be a defensive pit bull. So he's talked about saying, hey, let's get away from, not just get away from the triple doubles, but get away from the focus on offense. Get back to being a pit bull on defense, set the tone on defense, and sacrifice. So those are the two terms that Darvin Ham used to talk about Russell Westbrook being a pit bull on defense and sacrifice. You think he's going to be able to have Russell Westbrook flip that switch and take that enthusiasm, take that passion, take that energy to the defensive end of the court?
I do think so, and he needs the energy in the pit bull back, period, on both sides of the ball. I really think it's more towards offense than defense. The Lakers have to get better defense, period, as a whole. And I understand, and I have seen Russell at times in OKC play defense, but the pit bull, the maniac, the 100 miles per hour, it's always going more towards the offensive side of the ball. And he has to get back to that because even Magic said, we thought we were going to see go coast to coast, and we didn't do that. So for him to challenge him defensively, because Ham was on the 2004 Detroit Pistons team, which was one of the best defensive units we have ever seen in NBA history. So I understand how he's trying to emphasize that. And he's coming in with energy, period. If you see these, he's coming in with energy and starting to set a tone. We still have to wait for training camp. And this is what needed. Russell needs a system for himself, both offensively, more so offensively than defensively. But I think if he can contribute defensively too, that's really going to help him out. But I really think his energy honestly needs to be more for the offensive side.
Yeah, Darvin Ham is bringing grown man respect to this position. He earned the right to be in this seat. You found a picture earlier where he began his coaching journey in Los Angeles. So him coming back to the Lakers is a picture of him with Kobe Bryant at practice, just showing that there's a long stranded connection with the Lakers. A lot of people, when Darvin Ham was hired, had not heard of him when he was in college, but he was actually on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Now, it wasn't necessarily because he was a great player, because he smashed a backboard. There it is, Darvin Ham, on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So here's a man who commands respect at the end of the bench, commands respect from players who are great players because they know how hard he had to work as a player in order to earn the accolades, just earn the time that he got, and also knew how hard he had to work as a coach, how much he had to climb a ladder without a lot of light to get this opportunity. So he brings grown man respect to this position, and I'm excited to see what he can do with the Los Angeles Lakers. Still a lot of work. It's still the same players so far, but if anybody is seemingly
change the roster,
they need to change the roster.
Yeah. They're going to change. I mean, they have to too. They definitely have to change the personnel. And I think the one thing that he is smart enough to know is he has to find a backup plan if and when Anthony Davis does go down, because he's going to get hurt again. It's just a matter of how long, because you don't want that to affect your season to the extent of you don't make the playoffs. It will affect their season. They'll probably drop some seeds, but at least if they can still make the playoffs, if he's out, because I do believe he's going to be injury prone. He's going to miss some games. It's just a matter of how. But if you can just have them play defense, less defensive lapses, have these young guys revolve around LeBron as well as Russ, they can be successful this year.
I'm going to call Darvin Ham. There's a young assistant coach, potential assistant coach out there that he needs. You've already drawn the X's and O's and let him know what needs to happen. We have plenty of time to talk about that as the season gets closer, but you're already breaking it down, and I'm excited to hear about it. Okay, now let's get to it. The NBA Finals. We're sitting here now 3 games into the finals, and I would characterize the first 2 games as not surprising. The Celtics came out and were able to do what they needed to do to win 1 game on the West Coast. But Draymond Green did what he had to do too. Got into Jason Tatum's face, got into his head a little bit. You did what that mouth open. Did what Draymond does. He talks. He gets in your ear. And Jason, still a young player. In his mid-20s. Hadn't got to the NBA Finals before, so Draymond was trying to take him out, and he did. Took him out of his game a little bit. But the Celtics came away from the West Coast with a victory, and then in Game 3, it's almost like they just pumped it up. They decided that the way to beat the Warriors was to be physical with them and to be strong all the way through the game. Robert Williams brought the beef with 4 blocks, 3 steals, and 7 defensive rebounds, really set the tone. But then you had the trio of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart. They were the first trio in NBA Finals history to get 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. I'm sorry, not in history, but since 1984, since before you were born, to get those numbers in the NBA Finals. So here we are sitting at Game 3. Who's in the driver's seat right now? What do you think of the first 3 games? And how has it affected? You have to remind people what we predicted going forward. But so far, so good. Let me know what you're thinking.
I think Boston is in the driver's seat. And that second game, I told you, I said neither team can afford to go down 2-0. So I think they're going to continue to come back and forth. I think Boston is going to win tonight. No, I think Golden State is going to win tonight, actually. Because neither team, because at this point, you don't want to go down the 2 games. So they're going to do that. Now, Draymond set a big tone physically in that second game. Got the tech in the first quarter. Was doing the hands, doing the extra stuff, that. And I think it got to him. A lot of people had a lot of criticism this whole week for Draymond. And I think just having talks with Steve Kerr, trying to stay out of foul trouble or get the text, it got to him because he did play horrible. He had a bad game.
Oh, he was horrible. I mean,
he admitted it.
Had like 2 points. Edwyn, you and me could have got 2 points in that game. 2 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. Like I said, I could have got 2 points somewhere. But no, he was awful in that game and fouled out and got 6 fouls. I mean, that was just horrible. He got as many fouls as he got points and rebounds. So yeah, Draymond sort of took himself out of that game, and just the Celtics were just a strong team. You started to see Marcus Smart, Al Horford, players who are hungry. They're confident. They are strong. They are at home. The crowd was even getting into Klay Thompson's head. When I heard Klay Thompson whining about the Boston Celtic crowd, I'm like, dude, you should have been around back in the day. Back in the day when Red Auerbach was smoking cigars, when they would turn the heat up on the Lakers in the Laker locker room, when they would set off a fire alarm at the hotel and wake them up at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, Klay Thompson is complaining about the crowd. Come on now. I mean, you don't want profanity in front of children, but Klay, please, this is nothing compared to
That's how the NBA was. That's how the NBA was even before his father played. So for you to bring that up, act like you've never heard profanity or you never watched your father play in a hostile environment, it's been like that in New York, Philly. So let's get that out the way. What I would say is Klay did make some shots most of the game before that, so he had a little bit of a better game. Steph's really gonna have to have a monster game tonight.
Well, we talked about Steph Curry. You got to see how healthy he is. I mean, he was diving into that scrum, which you really want to see. But man, if he's a little guy, And when
He
Al
is, he is.
Horford jumped in there, you see he started screaming. They tried to pull
Yeah.
him off, and I think Draymond got a technical, but he was just trying to pull the guy off of his teammate. Curry says he's going to play, and I believe he's going to play.
Yeah.
But we just got to see what kind of an impact he can have, because if he's not on his game, it's going to be incumbent upon somebody else to step up and make up for it. And certainly the Warriors have the talent to do that. But that was a key moment in game 3 when he went in that scrum and got hurt. Certainly Al did not mean to do that. But when you're a skinny little dude, you don't need to be jumping into these scrums. You let the big boys fight over the rock. So it'll be interesting. Game 4. Your prediction was what? Celtics in 7?
I said Celtics in either 6 or 7.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 7. Just say 7. 7.
Right, we're gonna stick with 7. All right. I said Warriors in 7. So they're definitely gonna have to regroup and regain their confidence in order to do that. But so far we're both okay. Try not to get caught up in one or two losses. But right now, so you got a little bit of a lead on me. But I'm still good with my prediction. Really want to give some credit to Celtics coach Ime Udoka. Here he is in his rookie year, being poised to potentially win an NBA title. But what impresses me most is homeboy is engaged to one of my favorite actresses of all time, Nia Long. A lot of folks didn't know that, but they've been seen on the red carpet. She was at the game at Boston Garden, or at the arena. I call it Boston Garden because when I covered it, it was at Boston Garden. So this is a brother who's got it together, about to win his title, engaged to Nia Long. You're my hero, Ime. You're good, win or lose. And I got one more thing to show you, Edwin. I know you're a Laker fan now, but I don't know if you remember the day that we went to Boston and attended a game there. I found this image of us at the game and just wanted to bring it up. There it is. Father, son, few years ago in Boston for a game. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, I do. I remember.
Just a little surprise, just to show that we've been in this game for a long time. Again, proud of you. Always have fun digesting what's going on in the world of sports with you. Excited to share this with you every week. And hey, we got a lot to talk about. Let's watch these NBA Finals. I'm sure we're gonna find some news on Cap pretty soon, and just continue to explore, to grow, and to be the man that God has called you to be. So sports fans, we thank you for joining us. And until next time, what do we tell people, Edwin?
Keep balling.
That's right. Love you. Peace.